Now, um, there is no giving up, just getting up.
All right.
You know, I haven't cornered the market on suffering, and I can point to numerous people that have suffered in horrible ways that make my journey look like a skip through tulips. Uh, Everybody has a story. Everybody suffers at some point, and you just have to bust through it because it's true.
Hey, everybody. My name is Tiffany Alexander, and I am the owner of Unveiling Journeys. I am excited to have you here today. I want to just tell you a minute about myself. By golly, I love people. I love hanging out with people, interviewing them, and I love telling people their story. But the reason why I meet so many cool people is because I just ask them, "Hey, who do you know that I should know? Who do you know that I should get introduced to?" I have a bunch of people I think you need to know, but also you're so darn cool. How can I know just copycats of just you, right? Like I want to know more about you and all the above, and that leads me to get to know some phenomenal people, and they have fun journeys and stories that they've been on and the incredible things they're working on in their businesses that I get to share with everybody. And that leads me to my guest that I get to introduce you to today. With that, welcome, David. Thank you so much for being on my show today. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you are up to right now.
Well, first of all, Tiffany, thank you so much for having me. Today, I believe I'm at the pinnacle of my career, which spans about 4 decades. And it is a point at which I've taken the career that I've been involved in so deeply. I've taken it to the next level and hopefully will leave it in better shape than when I found it. So that comes after many, many years of doing all sorts of research and um, also being able to persevere after undergoing 5 spinal surgeries, and that is kind of a metaphor for what it takes to do what I do as a qualitative researcher, a behavioral scientist. I traveled the world talking to people for some of the largest corporations on the planet, asking them about their preferences and their likes and their dislikes. And here's what I can tell you, Tiffany, is that oftentimes what comes out of somebody's mouth is not what their body is saying.
Oh, really? So is it like
Way.
their mouth is lying or their body's lying or which one's lying?
Well, that's a really good and deep question. Probably could be discussed in another podcast,
A
but I'll
whole
try and
nother
give you
show,
the
right?
I'll
That's true.
try and give you the Reader's Digest version. What we're trained to see is not whether people are lying or not, because contrary to what you see on TV, it's very difficult to determine when somebody's lying. Now, there are indications of deception, but when you realize how many times a day research shows that we're lied to, uh, we miss a lot. We're gullible. But what body language is trained to see is discomfort
Hmm.
within the body.
Ah.
And it's very scientific what we're observing. And what that is we have an old brain, the reptile brain, right? It's the limbic system
Ah, the limbic
developed
system.
millions of years ago, right? And that brain, it just reacts, doesn't really think, it just reacts. Okay. The new brain, the neocortex brain that we humans developed when we started to do things like write music and write books and develop universities and think, that brain, man, it tells some real whoppers.
Hmm.
That's the lying brain. And so what
Oh.
you see is the limbic system that cannot lie, struggling with the neocortex, and that's the emotional leakage that we're trained to see.
Oh, that's
That's
so
how that happened.
that's wild. That's wild. I think this is so fun to understand that there's documentation, there's science, there's data behind all this instead of us just floating around like telling our stories or somebody's a liar, not a liar, or somebody's, the telltale signs. I remember when we were talking before, there was a show that I got hooked on. I watched it for a couple seasons, Lie to Me, where he was
Mhm.
like, yeah, the eyebrow and the this and the that. And it eventually became so, when you can binge watch stuff, you're like, he's going to do the same tell sign every. So it's like, okay, the show's kind of over with, right? But
I think it
this is a
lasted like 3 seasons maybe, I don't know. I watched it.
Yeah, it was great. I
I
I
loved
thought
it.
and if it was real, it would be even more fascinating to think I could memorize some of that stuff, but all in all, I'm a gullible person because I think everybody's innocent till proven guilty, and then I gotta keep people at my side to know, like, "Tiff, that guy's full of crap," like, "Oh," right? Then you learn to set up safeguards, but this is for research, products, for things, for like what people want and how to make the world go round. Which is why I thought this was so fascinating when we met because I love that how long you've been doing this and how neat this is. I don't know. I light up about the nerdy side of this or what geeky side of it. Um, let's do this. I want to tell everyone your story because there's highs and lows and the things that you've gone and done and been through, and I want to share like the whole angle of it.
Sure.
Start from the beginning to like unveil your journey. Where are you from? And like, did you think you were even going to be doing this as a kid? What did you go to school for? We'll start there.
Wow, that's a circuitous route. I'm born in New York and to a very technical father, and he dragged us from New York to California, back to Pennsylvania, back to California, um, and, uh, that was before the age of 12, right? And so, I was always the new kid on the block, and I learned to kinda keep my mouth shut and my eyes open, but then in high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I could write, uh, propelled me to go into journalism. So I went into journalism and eventually ended up writing for the San Diego County edition of the Los Angeles Times at a really young age and realized quickly that I didn't want to be a journalist. It's too tragic. Um, well, the PSA jet that crashed in, I think, 78 or 79, I was one of the first people on the scene there.
Yeah.
Um, so then I exited stage right and went up to Northern California to Berkeley to become the great American novelist. And while I was in Berkeley, I ended up taking a job as an editor for a company called Regis McKenna. And if you're, I think, way too young to know about Regis, but he was had an agency called Regis McKenna Inc., and that was, you know, uh, the agency that helped start Apple and Intel and Genentech. And Regis himself was a marketing guru, public relations and marketing. Um, I had the most wonderful opportunity to work for him at a really young age when all these new technologies were coming, working on the world's first spreadsheet, working on the world's first PDA, right? Working on the world's first laser printer, jet printer, all this stuff that we take for granted, and
Right.
a lot of which I have in my office here, we worked on. And it was just a great career, but it was exhausting and it required a lot of preparation, a lot of deep understanding of technology and the client's business, to make a difference. And so when I was at Regis, I just kind of fell into it. He needed a research department. I waved my hand, I'll do it. And I started by being an electronic secondary researcher.
Oh.
There's two types of research. There's uh, primary research and secondary research. Right. Secondary research is the research that we all do on Google at the library. It's the research information that's in the public domain.
Been
Okay.
invented, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Go to the library, you pick up an article, put it in your paper. That's secondary research. Primary research, on the other hand, is the research companies do to find information that nobody has.
Yeah.
And they do it qualitatively and quantitatively. I handle the qualitative. And that's the face to face, the depth of understanding that led me to realize and beat the drum loudly that how can a social science qualitative research methodology widely used by corporate America and designed to understand human behavior, how can it be largely blind to nonverbal intelligence? How can that be?
Yeah.
And um, we'll probably touch on this later, but that's where I'm pushing the industry. And that's where I push myself to incorporate nonverbal intelligence so that when I'm looking at you, Tiffany, are you really engaged? Are you really paying attention? Are you distracted? What facial expressions have I noticed? You know, I'm tracking all this while I'm talking with you for the sole purpose of finding that instance when there's a contradiction that comes out of your mouth doesn't match.
Yeah.
And if I don't attack that or deal with it or just let it go, just believe in what is said, whatever it was that caused that's going to solidify and it's going to be irrevocable. You're never going to be able to change anybody's opinion.
Wow.
That's what we teach.
This is phenomenal to consider because really humans are kind of doing this already. And the fact that there's a science behind it that people aren't thinking that they're doing it, you can watch your own children. Like, like there's a telltale sign, right? Or like in
But
poker, there's a
this,
tell
yeah,
sign, or there's a thing. But to understand we've instinctively done it and do it to feel like we trust people or don't, or feel like these emotions or your face isn't matching your body is matching what's coming out of your mouth. Or you can just tell if someone's comfortable or not in their own body language without saying a darn thing. And to make there are actually science behind it and see that there's a pattern, right? What people maybe do. This is so cool. This is so cool because
well,
you can use this, right? Like you can make yourself a stronger, better person by understanding this about humans generally. As like a is it a good rule of thumb of what generally people do, or is it like unique to people?
no, what I'm doing here is the next, I'm in attacking the research market. Once we land, we're going to expand and we're going to go to HR, right? There's another profession that seeks to understand and help employees and corporations. I see very little about body language there. So I'm on a mission. But look, you keep bringing up trust and everybody's gullible. There's a reason for this.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's called the truth default theory.
Tell me more.
And it's invented by a social science researcher, Timothy Levine, out of the University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa. Okay. And he wrote a book called Dupe. And this book is about the truth default theory, which says that most of the time, most people will tell the truth unless there's some irreparable harm that could be done by doing so. And the truth is kind of the social oil that leads us to communicate and interact. And we are hardwired to trust. Does it make sense? Right? You want to get along. You you don't want to always go up and attack somebody, right? You want to understand what they're saying. And this is the truest way to do it. Uh, and it's like learning another language.
Yeah.
If you're a human being, you will exhibit the 8 micro expressions. There's 7 plus neutral. And what are those? Those are like happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, surprise, contempt, and then the lack of all that neutral. You will see that plus bodies. And if you're human, you're just going to react this way. Okay? And this is not new science. Uh, some of this science is several hundred years old. Darwin was fooling around with dogs and trying to understand if dogs smile. And if you have a dog owner, you'd probably agree that they do. Um, but it's not a new science. And not only did we bring nonverbal intelligence into the mix, but now we brought artificial intelligence into the mix.
Yeah.
So now how does that work, right? So let me tell you, uh, we worked with a partner that developed an algorithm that is trained to spot the same emotional leakage that I am. Okay. So that when I'm interviewing, let's say, Tiffany Alexander, uh, I'm videotaping you. I take that video and I run it through the algorithm, and it corroborates or refutes what it is that I saw. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, that's so unbelievably accurate. Nothing like this has ever been done in qualitative research, where we can go back to a facial expression and go down and look at the words that were spoken and see what caused that. It is so unbelievably powerful. We tried this in a study. We convinced the client to do it. And this was 5 years ago now. All right. This is 2020, right? We're in 2025. So right smack in the middle of the pandemic, we were doing this. And we interviewed a bunch of design engineers. I write about this in my book. And we could spot when they were being disingenuous with us for a variety of reasons, right? But we could show it. And there was no argument. There was, it worked so well, they doubled down and asked us to do it again. And now we've been doing it 7, 8 times now, lined up to do another. And it's pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. Nothing like this has been done anywhere. And if you find anybody in your vast network, Tiffany, that has done this, have them call me.
Yeah. No, I haven't. I haven't.
And it's really super gratifying to be able to do and say this and to push the envelope. But with anything disruptive, I think this is disruptive. I'm not sure whether it's evolutionary or revolutionary. I'll let other folks decide that, but I think it's pretty disruptive. Um, Sometimes that's met with resistance, right? So,
Man. In your continued, because I love all the stories that you're telling about, I love the detail of all this. When you were with Regis at this marketing research, did you stay? You haven't been there for 40 years, right? Like, what was a little bit more of the story of your whole journey to circle back around to where you're at now? And when did you write your book?
the book was written late in life. Um, and you know, I worked for Regis uh, from 1978. I was 20 years old to 1986, and there we worked with the early Apple, Microsoft. I mean, all the early products we now take for granted, uh, supercomputers, mini computers, you know, now your phone contains, more information than the the mini computers we were using 20 years ago. So that was gratifying, but, uh, I met my partner, Pat Merrill, and together we were seeing that technology companies weren't really doing market research. They were just building it, and if you build it, they will buy, right? Well, come along 1985, 1986, when the market really crashed, a lot of technology companies began to think maybe we should do research. And so Pat and I left Regis and started our own company, Merrill Research, worked together for 35 years, and bought him out. Uh, he invested in a company called Market Tools, which became the world's first commercially viable survey engine, which spawned um, Zoomerang, which SurveyMonkey bought. So we've been pioneers. In fact, I have a blog that talks about all the firsts that we've done. But it wasn't until I had my fifth spinal surgery uh, that somebody convinced me I might actually have something to say. And that my background is unique. The other side of the background is I spent a decade in the seminary. My doctorate's in theology. There's a U-turn there. But that was really pivotal in helping me write the book.
Uh,
Um, and when I sent my dissertation into the folks that helped me write the book, they thought we could make a book out of it, even though it's a very technical dissertation. So that's what we did. And I basically wrote the book, on my back as I was healing. I had four lower spinal surgeries and then a cervical fusion in my neck. So it was a reason to get me up, to get me, out of thinking about the pain and to just drive forward and realize that, okay, now what? And you start thinking, all right, I can do this. And of course, a book is never done just by one person ever. So I had a lot of help, including my wife, family and friends, clients rallied around me. And writing a book is kind of like having a child. You bring this thing into the world and you wonder, how's the world going to treat it? Is the world going to like it? Is the world going to think it's a good reflection of you? And do
mm,
you care?
yeah.
All that stuff. So it was a super cathartic experience. It's an unusual book. I realized that nobody's going to read a book on focus groups, blah, right? It's like, ugh. But they might read my story, which is pretty interesting. Uh, and each one of the twists and turns of my life became a characteristic that I think is required to be a qualitative research at this level. And so why not leave this thought with a new generation of qualitative researchers,
Oh, that's nice.
that there's more to just listening to people. And that's what I hope to do. And things like this are so fun because I get to talk about myself. And who doesn't love to talk about
Who
them?
doesn't love to talk about themselves? Well, let me ask you this. You've done this for a minute and jokingly, right? And you could just hang up your hat, kick up your feet, and hang out on the beach. Why do you keep showing up? Why do you keep trying?
It's a really great question. Uh, Now, what that didn't mean anything. I really do have an itch. Um,
You're
why
so
do I
you
keep
think I'm
doing it?
leaning into that? No, I'm not reading you, David.
Well, the honest reason is I'm not Stephen King, right? So uh, I I like to work. I love my job. I'm one of the few people I know that can really say that when you balance it all out, all the bad and the good, that I really had an awesome job for many years, working for myself in a profession that I just really loved. And so why not leave that thought with a new generation of people? So I want to train people.
Mm,
I want to show them, what it's like to break through and to really see what the body says and how to navigate that and how to pivot that and how to become more engaging, how to become more analytical, how to become more honest, how to become more credible, all this stuff,
yeah,
right? There's the look of leadership just isn't heard. There's a look of leadership. So
that's
we
fun.
teach that. And that's really what I want to do, Tiffany. And that's why I wanted to come on. And I just released another blog today that talks about who should read uh, my book. And it was talking about the new generation of people that want to go into qualitative research.
Mm, that's amazing. And for everybody listening right now, and they're thinking, I want to know more. I want to lean into this. Like, where is your favorite place for them to come find you?
Mostly I hang out on LinkedIn, for whatever reason, people tell me I should hang out there. So I do, and I'm pretty easy to find, but my website is www.merrillresearch.com. You can reach me through there. There's all sorts of blogs and free information on body language and navigating stuff and analyses that I've done. People can look at. It's also on my LinkedIn.
Nice.
But yeah, I welcome the challenge. No, nobody's coming up and I want to talk to people in HR.
Okay.
How about the medical community?
Ooh.
Doctors go to school. One of the first things they're told is patients lie.
Oh, I mean, yeah, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it
right.
makes sense.
Lawyers. How about lawyers? How
I
about
mean, I think
clergymen?
everybody puts them in a lying bucket anyway. So, but
Well, not.
doctors, you don't
Oh,
really
wait
think
a
about.
minute. I
Yeah.
didn't mean it that way, Tiffany. What I meant was,
No, it's fine.
if lawyers are lawyers because they have a sixth sense, right? But if they had that sense tuned up with body language training, they'd probably be a little bit more effective
Wow.
in reading people, is
It
what
makes
I
sense.
think. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's my mission. And why stop when, ironically, I'm having the most fun
Yeah, yeah. Well,
right now.
let me ask 2 more questions. What do you have on the horizon? What are you working on?
Well, good question. Possibly another book, but it would likely be um, a little bit more academic. I'm I'm at the point in my career where I like to pick and choose the projects, and I also am turning towards academia. So I have built up two courses now that are each 16 weeks long with two lesson plans per week. One course is on nonverbal intelligence and research in business, and the other is on advanced qualitative research. These two courses are taught nowhere that I can find. They're very unique. I would love to teach. Wouldn't be the first professor that teaches and, has consulting on the side, but that's where I'm at. And
Yeah,
it's really fun and at a pace that I can handle.
right. Ooh,
So,
we get to my favorite part. I get to ask you, what are your golden words of wisdom that we get to leave everybody with to wrap up?
now, um, there is no giving up, just getting up.
All right.
You know, I haven't cornered the market on suffering, and I can point to numerous people that have suffered in horrible ways that make my journey look like a skip through tulips. Uh, Everybody has a story. Everybody suffers at some point, and you just have to bust through it because it's true. If it doesn't kill you, it will make you stronger in ways you did not think. So that's what I hope for, is for people to, you know, glean that and realize, wow, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. This
That's
has
what I
been
hope for.
wonderful. And I agree.
Likewise.
I thank you so much for your time that you've been able to come hang out with me, and I got to share your story and tell everybody what's the name of your book. We didn't get into that.
It's called Backbone, Surviving the Road Less Quantified toward a deeper understanding of qualitative research.
Ooh, love it. And we'll
Uh,
put all that in the show notes so that everybody can
yeah,
come find
it's
it and get a copy of that.
available available on Amazon. It's in soft copy and ebook, and uh, it's pretty critically acclaimed, surprisingly.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Um,
nice.
I love it. Thank you again for your time. I'm so happy we got to hang out today.
Thank you.
I thank you everybody for staying and watching the whole episode. I highly recommend that you go and hang out and look at some of these blogs and check out David's book. And if you want to reach out to him, LinkedIn is the place to
Yeah.
go. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode. And thank you for your time too.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Tell me Tiffany sent you.
Perfect.
See you.